All right. So we have 2 weeks left. Okay. Today is our last shape. So far, we have already talked about several shapes. What shapes have we talked about? Pyramid, cones, sphere. What? Well, we haven't talked about spheres yet. That's today. Cylinders. The other one starts with a P. Not someone said that the other P one. PR. Prisms. We had two types, right? Rectangular and triangular. Okay. So those will be what our test is over on Friday. Now, just so we're all aware, tomorrow when I give you guys the review, I'll also give you a cheat sheet. Normally on the cheat sheet, it's just a blank paper. Tomorrow I will have the 5 formulas. So, well, technically 10 formulas. So surface area and volume for pyramids, prisms, cylinders, uh, what did I leave? Cones and spheres. Okay, and then you can fill in examples, or some of you might not need to. You might just need that. You have to know though what the symbols mean. Like if you don't know what L stands for, you're in trouble, right? What does L stand for?
The
Slant height. So in the past it stood for length, but for us in this chapter it's slant height. Okay. Um, so I'll pass that out tomorrow in addition to a chapter review. Okay. Then our test is on Friday. Then next week will be a time for us to review. If you are a senior, okay, for most of you that doesn't apply, but if you're a senior, you will take the test next week on Thursday, Friday, and because then you're not here the final week. For the rest of us, we will take it Tuesday, Wednesday. I need to double check if I'm going to split the final. We'll probably all start it Tuesday. I'm not sure if I'm splitting it or if we're just you'll have as much time and then Wednesday you'll finish it. I'll let you guys know. Okay. Final day for Delta Math. Not 2 days from today, but the next Friday. Okay. At the end of that Friday, I will turn them off. You will not have access to them. So don't wait till the last minute, because guess what? If next Friday you go to get on and do it and your computer dies, sorry, the year's over. Okay, we can't do anything. So next Friday, what's the date? Anyone know? Is that the 24th? I think. Yeah. So the 24th. That'll be when they close at 3:20. When the bell rings, I'll go back there after the day and I'll shut all the deltas, and you won't have access to them. So, any questions about what's coming up? Yes.
have the cheat sheet for the final.
Yes, so I am finalizing. I think tomorrow the geometry teachers were meeting, and we're going to finalize that. You will get one. It will have formulas. I'll give you one that's got a lot of formulas on it, and then there won't be a ton of space. But if you want to add little notes on it, you can. It's not. I'll put the most important stuff on it so that it'll have like SOHCAHTOA, the formulas for area of a parallelogram, like all that stuff we talked. I mean, we've talked about a lot of stuff, so I will have the most important things on there, and then we'll need to review it to make sure we know what it means. But it will have these formulas and stuff. But yes. So, all right. Well, then let's talk about our sphere. So, a sphere is essentially a 3D version of what shape? A circle. Okay. Now, it says a sphere is a locus. What does that mean? Collection. Locus is a fancy word that just means collection of points in space that are a given distance from a point. Okay, what do you think we call this point right here? Center or middle, right? That's just like on a circle. Now, just like before, what does this mean? Radius. How far is it from the center to the edge? Now, unlike in the past, the radius could go left or from the center to the right. It also could go like straight up. It also could go at some angle, right? There's a million ways it could go. It can go anywhere just from the center to the edge. That is the radius. Just like before, what if instead it goes all the way across? What is that called? Diameter. Okay? So, all we need though to find these is the radius. Now, you could calculate how to do this, and if you are interested, I'd be happy to do it. It's kind of complicated, and I'm guessing most of you don't really care, so we're going to just skip through it in the lesson. Surface area, our formula is 4 pi r squared, okay? And then for volume, it is 4/3 pi r cubed. So notice on both of those, there's only one thing I need to know to solve for my surface area and my volume. What do I need? If I know the radius, I can find both of those. Good. So write the formulas down, and then let's look at that first example. So, probably the easiest question of the day. What is the radius of example 1? 12. It's pretty obvious. It's right here, 12. So, 4 pi times 12 squared. I want you guys to do that. We can go ahead to the nearest tenth is fine. And then for volume, it will be 4/3 pi times 12 cubed. Okay. Now, I want you guys all to try to find that to the nearest tenth. I'll get attendance in, then we'll talk. I know 4/3 and also to the third, you might not know how to put it in, but give it a try.
1,809.6.
All right, good. So 1,809.6, and we know it's surface area, so millimeters squared. Good. Thanks. That's it. All right, volume. Now, you might not know how to type this into your calculator. So 4/3, we need to do 4 divided by 3, okay? Then times pi times 12. Now, how do we raise something to the third? Okay? If you're using one of my calculators, on the left side, do you guys see a button similar to this? It's pretty close to what, the 7? Is it right by the pi? Is it below? Under the pi. So the pi button on the left side, go right below that. There's the little caret key. That means raise to. Now, you can't just put that. You have to show what power do we raise it to. So we are going to raise it to the third. Okay? So do 4 divided by 3 times pi times 12. Then hit this button and this button, and you'll be set. And what do we get to the nearest tenth? Go ahead.
7,238.23.
Yeah, and so I'll just put 0.2, but yep, and millimeters cubed. Good job. Yep. All right. Now at the bottom, there is only one difference at the bottom here. Can anyone tell what is our difference? Go ahead, players. Yeah, I gave you the diameter. That is not what we want. This is our diameter. It's helpful, but I want the radius to solve, right? So what do I do? Just divide it by 2. It's that easy. So we know our radius is 10 millimeters. That's our radius because this was our diameter. And so if we know that, then guess what? We can just plug it in the formula. So 4 times pi times 10 squared. And this one is 4/3 times pi times 10 cubed. All right, take a second. Some of you already got that. Try that. All right, someone else. So Isaiah and Chris, I think, were the ones who answered those last ones. Someone else tell us what you got. Someone else. Can't be you. Sorry. You got it, Devin? You got either of those? Or Luis, you got it?
1,256.6.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. And then someone else. What do we got for volume? 4,188.8. Good. All right. So hopefully, as long as you know the radius, spheres are pretty easy, right? All right. Now let's take it to the next level, though. Now we have to be clever mathematically, okay? So it's not hard, but we have to think about it. So here, it tells us the sphere has a volume of 800, and our goal is to find what is the surface area, okay? Now, if I know the volume, but I don't know the surface area, let's think again. What do I need so that I can find surface area? There's only one thing I need. What do I need? Radius. I don't know the radius, but I know the volume. Our formula for volume, 4/3 pi r cubed. I can set that equal to 800 and solve for r. Now, this is a little bit difficult. Okay, we got to use some algebra skills. We haven't done one quite like this. So, what do I do first? There's about 3 options. What would you do first? Just solve. When I say solve for r, I want to get r by itself.
Divide by 4/3.
Close. Well, yeah, actually, you're divide by 4/3. The way I say it is multiply by the. Do we remember?
When you flip them,
Yeah. What is that called? Starts with an R.
reciprocal.
Reciprocal, yeah. Now, you are right. You could divide by 4/3, but I think it's easier to think about it as multiplying by the reciprocal. It's the same thing. Now, the reason I do that, if I multiply by 3/4, guess what? That cancels. If I do it to one side, got to do it to the other. Okay, what is 3/4 of 800? Initially, that might seem tough, but just 3/4, what's 75% of 800? So if you don't know it, that's fine. Just take 800 times 3 divided by 4. And 400 would be half of it, right? 600.
Oh,
Because if you think about it, if we divide it by 4, 200, and then 3 of those, so 600. Okay, so now if I rewrite this, we got pi r to the third equals 600. Okay, what would you do next? There's really only one good option now. Divide by?
3.1.
Well, yeah, so I'll divide by pi, but it's, yeah. And that'll cancel, divide by pi. Use the pi button on your calculator so we're more precise. And at that point, we'll see r to the third equals what?
190.98.
Yeah, I think if we round, it goes to 0.99.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, good. Now, here's the last step to solve for r, and this is probably the most challenging step. We have not dealt with this before. How do I get rid of something raised to the third? How do I undo that? Do we know? And if you're not sure, think for a second. What if I had x squared equals like 36? What do I do? Square root. I don't have squared, I have cubed. So we call it cube root. Okay? Now, do we know how to do that on our calculator? And I'm guessing for most of us, the answer is no. So watch as I show you 2 ways. Option 1, you can take it 190.99 and then put that little caret key, raise it. Raising something, or the cube root, is the same as raising it to the 1/3. Now, if you do that, you have to put it in parentheses, okay? This is probably the easiest option, in my opinion. Okay, the other option, right where that caret key is, if you type it in like this, if you put 3, and then we're going to hit, if you hit second, like that, okay? Second, and then hit that caret key, this will pop up. What that means is you have to have the 3 first. That will put the 3 in place of the x. It will be the cube root of, and then you'll type in 190.99, okay? And then you'll hit enter. So either option is possible. I think the top one might be a little easier. Cube root is the same as 1/3 to the power, but you have to put parentheses or else it'll raise it to the first and then divide by 3. So all that being said, what do we get for r? 5.76. Good. That's what we should have got. If you did not get that and would like me to help you get it, let me know, and I would love to help you. Okay? All right. And then I know the bell's just about to ring, but for lunch. But the last part then, it asks for the surface area. So 4 times pi times 5.76 to the second. And we'll plug that in. Okay? All right, so we solve for 5.76, then we plug it in, 4 pi times r squared, and what do we get?
416.
Yep. And technically it says to round the nearest hundredth, so I'll put 9.2, but yeah, it's fine. All right, Ibrahim, you focused?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right, 2 more to do, and then I'll be done for the day. So, look at number 4. This time, they give us the surface area. Our goal is to find the volume. What do you think we need to do first?
Write down the formula.
Okay, so what's our formula for surface area?
4 times pi times radius squared.
Okay, 4 pi r squared equals 400. Okay, at this point, what would you do first?
Divide by
Divided by 4. That's going to be the easiest. What is 400 divided by 4? 100. Okay. Now what should I do? Divide by pi. So you'll do 100 divided by pi. And what do we get?
31.83.
All right, good. Yep, good. 0.83. Yep. Now, we're not done, right? That is what r squared equals. What do I do to get rid of a square? Square root. Now remember, you can do the square root of 31.83, or we just found you could also take 31.83 raised to the 1/2. It'll be the same thing, okay? So we do that, and what does r come out to? No? Try that again. Here, let me see what you typed. Wait, before you put Not bad. Oh, you did this, but at the front you would do it 2, right? Because that's the cube root. So that will get it for you. 5.6. Yep. Or the other option is, remember that one is the square root. You can just use the one right below it. So second, hit that, and that. If it doesn't have a number, it is a square root. All right. Yep. All right. So go ahead, Isaiah. What'd you get?
5.6.
All right, and yep, 5.64, or it just says nearest 100 on this one, so I'll do that. Okay, and then final step, we want to plug it in, right? So 4/3 times pi times 5.64 to the third. Okay. Now, if you use 5.6, you're going to get a slightly different answer if you use 5.64. So if you use 5.64, what do we get? Yep. And it's volume, so that means it will be not millimeters. What am I doing? It's inches cubed. All right. One last question, and this last one is very simple, as long as you know one word. Okay. It says, what is the volume of a hemisphere with a radius of 6.5 inches round to the nearest tenth of a cubic inch? So, what does the word hemisphere mean? Anyone know? Yeah, half of the sphere. Now, in the world, we say, does anyone know where we live? What hemisphere do we live in? The northern hemisphere, right? Because the equator divides the earth in half. Okay? Then also we live what they call the western hemisphere, right? Because the prime meridian, is that what it's called? Right? I think that one's the one that divides it in half the other way. Right? Hemisphere just means half of a sphere. So if we're trying to find the volume and we know the radius, what do you think we do? We solve it for the volume, and then what do I need to do to get my final answer? Divided by 2, because it's just half of it. Okay? So, first step, we plug it in, 4/3 times pi times 6.5 cubed. All right, we do all that, and what do we get?
1,150.35.
Yeah, 1,150. It says nearest tenth there, so we can just go 0.3. Okay, but we're not done. That would be our answer if it was the whole sphere, right? We want just a hemisphere. So what's my last step? Divided by 2. And what do we get?
575.15.
Yeah, and if we round the nearest tenth, 0.2, right? So 575.2, and it was inches cubed. All right. Go ahead and sign in. This is the last new Delta of the year on new stuff. I haven't decided how we're going to do reviewing yet. There's a chance I'll make one more review, Delta, that has everything on it to help you get ready for the final. But this is the last normal assignment, okay? So get in. Also, I put in 18.3 today. I know we've had 3 this week, but some of us did not have that done. That was the one over pyramids. So if you didn't do that, you still can. Did I tell you guys when the deadline was for deltas? Yeah, okay. Next Friday at the end of the day. Yes.